Can we make Starbucks better than Starbucks? Let's find out. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Coffee Q&A, your daily dose of coffee Q&A here on the OnoCoffee channel. I'm Jay, your host. And if you're joining us the very first time, we do this live stream most Monday through Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern, talking about coffee and drinking coffee and all that kind of thing. So what's happening? How you all doing? Good morning. For those of you out closer to where I happen to be, or good evening, wherever you all happen to be elsewhere in the world. So today's topic is the Brown Sugar Shaken Espresso, which honestly I hadn't really heard about until yesterday. I was sitting around yesterday thinking, what are we going to do for tomorrow's show? And it's like, there are days when I have in my mind many topics to cover. I'm like, okay, I can do the next 2 weeks. And then there are days, it might be the day after I have those thoughts, right? Where I'm like, what are we going to do tomorrow? I don't know. So it's this. I was sitting there yesterday. I was like, what? And so I was Googling popular iced coffee drinks because I was thinking, let's do more iced drinks for the summertime to get ready for summer. And I was thinking, we'll do iced latte. Like, oh no, we did iced latte last week. We can't do that again. So I was like, okay, what can we do? And evidently, one of the most popular drinks out there is called the Brown Sugar Shaken Espresso, which evidently is a Starbucks drink. Since I don't go to Starbucks, I don't really know their menu, and I don't really know what's trendy and those kind of things, especially since I haven't had to run an actual cafe for almost 5 years. Wow, that's actually been really fast. So I'm a little bit behind. Now, today we're going to be making this drink, and it's something that seems like it could be a lot of fun, and we're going to look at it from different viewpoints. So one of the ways I think that Starbucks does it mainly is with oat milk. So we're going to play with that a little bit. We're also going to play on how to achieve it and how to maybe you could put it together in different approaches. And so you don't have to follow certain recipes or certain dictums. You can make it however you want. Once you learn the basic techniques, you can actually do your own twists, add flavors, add ingredients, change them, pull them out. What you're going to need is you're going to need espresso, of course. You're going to need some kind of brown sugar. You're going to need, people say, a little bit of cinnamon, so I guess cinnamon. And then you're going to need some kind of milk. In Starbucks case, they use oat milk. You can use milk. You can use heavy cream. You can use half and half. You use whatever you have. Use whatever you have. And play around with it, because we're going to do that here today and try some different things to see how it does, right? So now let's start off with the main ingredient, or at least the star ingredient in terms of the name, the brown sugar. Now, brown sugar is something that is, when I learned about this, I really thought it was kind of interesting. So I always figured brown sugar, which is this. Oh, this is brown sugar, right? Zoom in some. This is regular light brown sugar. And as you're familiar, you can buy both light brown and dark brown sugar. And you can see here that it's sugar, right? It's sugar, but it's kind of soft and wet, right? It just has a very different texture than regular granulated sugar, which this is not. That is non-dairy creamer, darn it. Okay, well, so much. Oh, you know what? Now I really do. Do I have regular sugar down here? I thought that was the regular sugar. This is what happens when you don't check things before you begin. Uh-oh. All right, so let's just tell this. Light brown sugar, and I do need to get the regular sugar. So I'm going to talk, and if I run out of transmission, then we're just going to keep going. But the interesting thing about light brown sugar is that it is regular granulated sugar that has been adulterated with molasses, and it's the molasses that gives it the color. I don't know if you can still hear me, but let me grab this really quickly. But I'm wondering if maybe we should rewind on all of this a bit. So we're starting off with granulated sugar, which is what everybody's really familiar with. Table sugar, usually, traditionally made from sugar cane, but it can also be made from beets. I always try to buy the 100% pure cane sugar just because I like that a little bit better, right? Russell, good morning to you. How are you doing? And we've got, all right, I got the sugar finally. So when we talk about sugars, right, we had an episode a few weeks ago where we talked about I think we were making Mexican coffee, café de olla. And the tradition we've been making café de olla is to use what they call the piloncillo. So that is actually truly raw sugar. Like we have sugar in the raw as a brand. That's actually not sugar. That's not raw sugar. The true raw sugar is the piloncillo style of sugar. And really where you can get those, if you go to the Latino markets and you say to them, hey, where's your sugar cones, right? Ask them for a sugar cone. Their cones, basically what they are is when they squeeze the cane juice, they take that raw cane juice that's been squeezed and they put them in molds and then they dry them out and it becomes this piloncillo. It's a really rich and deep molasses heavy sugar. Now the different methods of refination bring the sugar from that all the way to this, right? So we'll have the very, very dark piloncillo, which I thought I had some here. You know, everything's kind of discombobulated. But along the way, we have things like this. This is Demerara sugar, right? And you can see here, it looks kind of like sugar in the raw. So there's actually piloncillo. Then there's panela, which is slightly refined. There's Demerara, which is a little bit more refined. And then there is turbinado, which is the sugar in the raw, which is even more refined. And then eventually there is this. Well, I guess I should go this direction, right? There is this. The fully refined is this product. Now notice that I didn't say that any of this light brown sugar is in here, because the truth of the matter is light brown sugar is not part of the refination process. It's actually adulterated cane sugar. Kent, good morning or good afternoon to you. How you make this is you have to add molasses. And I have this here, Grandma's molasses. I don't know if this particular brand of molasses is reduced out of sugar made from this is made from the juice of sun-ripened sugar cane. So yes, this is molasses that's been derived from sugar cane. So basically, the sugar starts out this really dark, almost like blackish. I thought I had some around here somewhere. Anyway, but really super dark and black and dark brown. And as they go through the stages of refination all the way to this product, they strip this out of it, right? Now, when you're making light and dark brown sugar, you're actually taking this and adding this in different quantities to it and then mixing it. That's what this is. And this is why these type of baking sugars are very moist, because they're adding the molasses, right? This is inherent in it. This is added. And then they get hard because this solidifies, right? So you ever notice when you let your brown sugar sit around for a long time, it gets really hard if you don't use it all? This is why. And this is something that you might want to consider if you like to have brown sugar, but you don't actually use a lot of it, and it's always getting hard. You always got to pound on it and all of this. You might consider getting some molasses and making your own, right? Because you can actually make this fairly readily. And I'm going to show you here, because since we may use this in our concoction. So I've got a little bowl here, right? A little bowl. And and this is the thing. We talk about light and dark in baking, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. You can kind of make it on the fly. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to put some sugar in here. Just a little bit. We only need a little bit for this drink. So we're just going to use this. Is sugar shaken espresso a popular drink in the US? I don't think I've heard about it before. You know, evidently it's very popular. I don't know. Like I kind of not familiar with it. What I have been familiar with is there is a drink at the boba tea shops. Here in America, we've got these boba tea shops. I'm fairly certain you have it in Europe. And these are kind of like Asian tea shops that have all these funky flavors and all these ingredients, and they put like the bubbles, the tapioca bubbles in them. I really like it. And one time I was going to go to this one place. Actually, I was talking to this girl, and I was like, she was working somewhere else. So where can I get bubble tea around here? She was like, you should go to this place called Tiger Sugar. And what should I have there? What's really good? She was like, it's really good. And I was like, well, what should I have? She was like, get the brown sugar boba. I was like, brown sugar boba. All right, I'm gonna go check it out. So I had that. That's the very first time I ever had brown sugar thing. So this is going to be pretty similar to it. But here in America, I think it's fairly popular at Starbucks. Evidently, from one of the things I read, it's supposed to be the #1 cold drink at Starbucks, or at least it was. Maybe I noticed that some of the videos that I watched to prepare for this, they're like some of them are 4 years old, so it's been around for a little while. I'm not very good at being on trend, I guess. All right, so we're gonna take our molasses, right? We'll just open it up. Molasses, there it is, nice and viscous and thick. And we're just gonna take a little bit, just a dab will do you, like just about that much is probably good. And now we're gonna mix it in. Maybe I should put more. So notice how it's just kind of clumping, right? It's not really mixing well. This is part of the whole reason why brown sugars like this can be a little more difficult to deal with. And you want to control the amount that you're adding. As you can see, the brown is getting bigger, right? There's more brown being added to it as I mix it. Now, remember, it's not. You're probably wondering, like, whoa, it's not viscous. It's molasses, so it's not going to be very viscousy, right? It's not going to be very runny. It's going to take it does take a little bit of work to put this together. I can push it down if I want to, kind of want to push that down to mix it more, right? To get more mixing going on here. But it's always going to be clumpy, right? See how it's always clumping? Now you see that this is a bit of work. So it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Like if you're pressed for time, or if you just don't want to do this kind of thing, it's definitely more convenient to buy this. But this way you can control how much molasses you put into it, and you can kind of control the flavor, which, depending on your interest and your purpose, that may hold interest for you. Someone like myself who's a bit psychotic about ingredients and wanting to do all kinds of sourcing, we might go to this level for if we were to offer this kind of drink in a shop environment or in a bar environment, we might go to this level. But for most people, I don't know if it's worth your time. So as you can see, that molasses, that little teeny tiny bit of molasses that I put in here has dispersed fairly well across this. And it's not, so this is light brown sugar, and you can see there's a big difference in color, right? This is definitely darker than this. So if you want to have a nice light molassy, nutty flavorness to it, this would be the way to go. You can easily add more, right? Like you can add it, and that's the nice thing. You can add as much as you want to make your brown sugar. We'll stop there, but this gives you a good. Plus, I don't want to contaminate the molasses with this spoon, even though it's all sugar. We don't want to take that chance. But there we go. We've got some brown sugar, freshly made from our white sugar. Put that aside. I gotta cover that back up. So as you can see, if you bought molasses to use for this kind of purpose, like this big bottle of 24 ounces will go a long, long way. Like you can make hundreds of pounds of brown sugar from this. So it can be quite effective. And if you look here, let's look here again. So this is this is the regular, this is the Demerara, this is the refined. So this is refined, this is purely refined. Now, there's going to be a flavor difference, right? There's going to be a flavor difference with any of the sugars that you use. As we've talked about in the past, the ingredient selection that you make is going to have a tremendous impact on the final product that you offer. So depending on how critical you are or you want to be, a consideration of your ingredients is going to be very important, or maybe just less important, because if it's not so important, then, well, it's not so important. Now, if we take this, we taste it. Oh, nice. A little more depth, a little more complexity then compared to regular sugar. Let me have a taste of it. Yeah, definitely much more depth. Now let's compare that to the commercial light brown sugar. I'm going to grab a little bite here. They're definitely deeper. Now it's probably biased because, I'm sitting here making this, but I kind of like, of course, the homemade brown sugar better. It's not too heavy, right? And that's kind of intentional. We don't want it to be too heavy, but as I said, each ingredient that you add or subtract or change is going to affect the overall drink. Now let's compare that to our Demerara. See, there's a very different character to like this brown sugar, this Demerara brown sugar, even though the ingredients are pretty much the same, right? This is just sugar refined to this point and not as far as this, where this is this sugar with the molasses added back into it like this has. Now, the depth of molasses is a bit less. If we look here, right, this is still darker. This is still darker than this. But the actual way that the flavor of the molasses kind of permeates is cleaner. I feel like it's cleaner on this sugar versus this one. But again, this could be bias based on, the fact that I'm sitting here with all the ingredients. It's not truly a critical or objective tasting, right? But what really normally will be, meaning that I don't think a lot of times we're able to really give objective. There was some more molasses here in the bottom of the spoon that I'm trying to incorporate into it. Really, look at that. It really does go a long way to dispersing into the sugar. I guess I'm a little bit surprised. Okay, that's good. Now, the main ingredients of this is going to be the espresso, the sugar, and then the milk, right? And so you can do different milks. I've got some. What do I have here? Because I know Naomi likes to have. She doesn't like regular milk, so I've got some Khalifa Farms coconut milk and almond milk blend. This is a non-dairy milk. Traditionally, I think they use, or at least Starbucks traditionally, they use oat milk. I don't have oat milk, so I do have this around the house. So we got that. And we've got some cream of wheat. And you could also do it with like a cold foam variation, which would be kind of interesting. And for a little while, I've been wondering, like, what is this cold foam? And then I was watching some videos about it. I was like, oh, cold foam. I thought it was ridiculous when I saw the cold foam. And I was like, not ridiculous because of what they do with it, but more ridiculous because I didn't think about it just being, it's just whipped cream. That's really all that it is. I'm like, really? I thought there was some kind of like secret ingredient or secret technique to make cold foam. It's just, yeah, it's just not very well thought out. Now we're not going to make cold foam style with the almond milk because it just doesn't whip up that well. But we will try it with a variation on the other one. So, what do we need to do? We got our sugar. So we're going to use this sugar because this is going to give us the more accurate flavor to what most people are used to, right? So sometimes you're looking for originality. Other times you may be looking for conformity, or at least some level of conformity, right? Because if you came out with, like, let's say if you made a drink called the Brown Sugar Shaken Latte or Espresso, and you're dealing with people that are used to that, they have a very specific thing in their mind. Like, this is what Brown Sugar Shaken Espresso is all about. It is this, 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 and this, and therefore it must be this. if you give them something dramatically different from that, there's a bit of disappointment. It's kind of like when we were, running the shops, people would walk in, can I get a macchiato? Now we're a hardcore coffee shop, right? Like we look hardcore. It looks nothing like a Starbucks, right? Everything looks very, very like different. And that was very intentional. But if somebody came in and asked for a macchiato, we would judge that person, right? We would evaluate this person to see what kind of person is this person, and do we need to query further? And that's really what it was about. It wasn't necessarily about judging them and looking down upon them. It was more about like judging them to see like how do we best fulfill their desires. That's really what it's about to me. Is that we want to fulfill your desires. We want to avoid disappointment. And if you're the kind of person that enjoys Starbucks styles macchiatos, like a caramel macchiato, and you come into a shop and you ask, can I get a macchiato, please? And I give you a macchiato that we make, you're going to be disappointed because that's not what you had in mind, right? And that's really what it's about. So it's about like trying to decipher based on just a few moments or maybe one moment. When this person says macchiato, do they mean the little demi-tasse cup macchiato that we make, or do they mean the vanilla latte that Starbucks makes? And you kind of ask, and so how do you get around that? It's always a question of like, be like, well, what are you, a Starbucks lover, right? You can't do that. That's not nice, right? You got to do it in a way that preserves, that gives them respect and gives them dignity, and not make fun of them, right? So it was always a question of like, I think that we trained our staff was for it to be like, what did we say? Have you been here before? Would be one of the queries that we would ask. Is this your first time with us? And if they were like, yes, this is our first time, then we'd be like, oh, are you familiar with our macchiatos? They're a little bit different. If we're thinking correctly, perhaps what you're more interested in, what we would call a vanilla latte. And then, oh yeah, let's have that, please. Okay, perfect. We make that. And now, of course, we don't have caramel syrup typically, so we don't do the drizzle on top of their foam. But I always thought that was the important way to get it, because we want to win hearts and minds through coffee, but you don't want to make people feel dumb, right? Like it's like, and I think that was very important for me, not to make people feel dumb, and because especially in my niche of the business, especially coffee, there was more than enough coffee shops in America pursuing this level of coffee that were eager to make you feel dumb, right? They were like very, very eager for that. Like many, many baristas would have this idea that, oh, well, the customer doesn't know as much as I know about coffee. No shit, Sherlock. They're not supposed to. It's like, dude, what's wrong with you, man? You're a coffee professional. By that definition, you're supposed to know more than the average guest, right? The fact that you know more does not give you any kind of special privilege. You're not like golden child. You're just another professional working in the business who should know more, for God's sake. Like if the guy walks in and knows more than you, what does that say about you, right? And your pursuit of the craft. Anyway, I don't think it's as bad as it used to be. It was certainly that bad at some point in my career, but I was like, maybe because we've got so much more proliferation of especially coffee shops and baristas and all that now versus then, it's less so, but Naomi says, cafes like to use Oatly barista style. I use Khalifa barista style oat milk. Never tried the one you have. This one is Khalifa. Oh yeah, this is Khalifa. I don't really try any of this stuff. I mean, not because I don't like them. I just don't. I mean, if I'm going to drink a milk type of drink, I'm going to drink milk because I don't have unlike a lot of Asian people, I don't have the lactose intolerance that everybody has. Like, I mean, I'm good to go pound some ice cream. Like at any moment, I can be persuaded to chase ice cream. So I never have to worry about the tummy thing. Naomi says that Kent, when it first came out, the brown sugar latte was very brown sugar shaken espresso, such a long name, was very popular. Russell says, I like the Khalifa mocha flavor. Oh, I didn't know there was one. Neither did Naomi. Look at that. Starbucks milk-based drinks are all weak for my liking. Are you saying weak as in sweetness or weak as in espresso flavor or coffee flavor? If it's the latter, I would totally agree because but I think that that's part of the That's part of the approach, right? The attraction, I think, with a lot of Starbucks drinks is really more on that sweet flavor rather than the espresso or the coffee part of it. Because I think, generally speaking, a lot of people find coffee to be kind of difficult to drink, right? It's bitter. It's got the bitterness to it. It's got darkness to it. It's got some off flavors that people don't necessarily really like. I mean, if you talk to a lot of people that drink coffee, they're not drinking coffee for pleasure. They're drinking coffee because they feel like they have to get their day going, to keep on going. That's a whole different approach to coffee than like what we explore here, where coffee is that pleasurable hedonism, right? We want it to be exciting, we want it to be tasty, we want it to be very enjoyable, we want it to be pleasure, right? And I mean pleasure. Like we want to have that kind of like le petit mot kind of like pleasure. Okay, maybe not. Well, yeah, maybe that kind of pleasure will be good. And I'm dropping on you like French terms, le petit mot, because not that because I'm educated or that I'm well traveled or because I'm like fancy, but because I just happened to find a bookstore called Le Petit Mot, which means the little death. And the owner was like, I was like, what's so why little death? And she's like, it's actually a slang term in French that means that once you orgasm, that moment after orgasm, when you kind of roll your eyes in the back of your head and you're kind of like dead for just a moment, that le petit mot, that little death, that I was like, oh, that is very nice. I was like, it's a romance bookstore. And I was like, oh, this is very nice. I was like, okay, I got to remember that. Now I sound all fancy. Everywhere I go, le petit mot, le petit mot, le petit mot. Like, yeah, that's our problem here in America. We just try to like sound good. We don't really know what we're doing. But Russell says, yes, I thought they discontinued because I couldn't find it for 2 weeks. To my delight, I scored 2 bottles. Yes. Oh, nice. Nice. Maybe I guess that's something they offer year round. But that sounds interesting. At least mocha in a milk. I like chocolate milk. So weakest in coffee flavor, says Naomi. Gotcha. Mom, good morning to you. All right, let's make something here because instead of me just talking all the time. Now, another ingredient we're going to need is some cinnamon. Now, I did get some cinnamon. I thought I did. Oh, here it is. I got some cinnamon here, some ground Saigon cinnamon from Sam's Club, which is fine. This is a sharper cinnamon. Now, if you want something that's not so sharp, like this, a Western, like what we're familiar with the West, very sharp cinnamon. If you don't like that as much, you can go with this, which is canela, which is a Mexican style cinnamon. These are different varieties of cinnamon. This cinnamon is softer, and you could grind this or you can use it. If you want to be fancy, you could probably put a whole stick in. Like if I was making this drink like at a sit-down coffee exploration bar, I would probably use this. Right? A little bit less bitter, a little bit less sharp. Also, then if I put it in stick form, the infusion of the cinnamon flavor won't be as dramatic as this. Like I saw one video where the maker was using, they used what I think for a small cup, this person put like a quarter teaspoon. I was like, good God, man, like, what are you doing there? Some people will also use vanilla extract. Again, another creator I was watching, like a quarter teaspoon for like a 16-ounce drink. I was like, quarter teaspoon, and this person was also talking about how much cheaper it is to make it at home. I was like, you're putting a quarter teaspoon of pure vanilla extract of like nice quality vanilla. You're not saving any money now. It's like, oh, that's crazy. Anyway, but you can use either the two and just have a different approach to them. One is going to be, and you can use Western style whole cinnamon too, but each one is going to have a different effect on the flavor of the beverage. So if you're trying to develop that recipe, consider that and then play around with it a little bit and that kind of thing. So what we're going to take our drink. We're going to use this glass, our normal tasting glass. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our sugar. We'll take this brown sugar. We're going to put the brown sugar in. Now, you can be fairly liberal, like depending on how much sweetness you like. That's the nice thing. That's a lot of sugar, but That's all right. That's all right. And then we're going to take some of this, the cinnamon. Now the cinnamon, you got to be. I always caution people to be careful with the cinnamon they add because man, this stuff is actually quite potent. Like I think that's way too much. Yeah, maybe just that much will be good. Right? Don't go crazy with the cinnamon. You can always add. You cannot subtract cinnamon. And once you get too much cinnamon, man, it is not a nice time at all. So now we can make the espresso. So what we're going to do is going to pull the espresso on top of it. And we're going to use the heat of the espresso to dilute and melt this. And then we're going to add the ice and then the milk to it. Now, you could make this into a syrup, right? And again, even if you're using this product or this product or this product, sugar's water soluble or soluble in water. It will disperse and fall into solution regardless of the temperature. It just may take more time. If you watch a lot of these creators, they always talk about boiling their sugars and to make syrup. Like, you don't need to boil it, especially if you're consuming it really rapidly. I wouldn't waste my time boiling because you're boiling your sugar and now you have to have a cooling time to bring it down to temperature. And I just don't think it's worth the wait, right? I just want to make the drink. I want to make it on the fly. But this way, I think, is a little bit better because you don't have to dilute the sugars with the water to make that syrup. You just kind of rock and roll with it. And now we're going to use the heat of the espresso to do our mixing, right? So let's go and have a look at that. Here we are at our espresso machine, the La Valentina, our champion espresso machine here. Okay, let's go at it. I gotta do laundry today. Let's flush this out a little bit. Make sure that it's running nice and clean and hot. No sputtering. See, no sputtering. That's beautiful. Come back here, turn it on. We're gonna flush out just a little bit of this coffee from yesterday, because we want to try to set ourselves up for success, so we don't have any. We want to have as minimal scaling coffee from yesterday as possible. Okay, that looks good. Right, there we are. A little bit of divoting down here, as you can see, but nice, smooth piling there. We're just going to come around like that. Come in, a little boulder there. Just going to push that over. The boulders, you see them, but they don't really have structure. Once you touch them, they really collapse. So I never really worry too much about the bouldering. I know some people get very obsessed about it. I don't. I'm right on the verge of feeling like that's too much. Like there's part of me that wants to knock a little bit off, but the other part of me wants to rock and roll with it. And I'm going to listen to the rock and roll side of me. Press down on this. Very nice. Tap, twist, flick. Make sure everything's nice and clean. And you know what? We're going to be kind of gangster here. So we're just going to go for it without pulling any test shots. I'm going to hit it. And then bring it around. Now we're going to pull the shot. And we are going to maybe do a little manipulation to make sure that we get... I'm not necessarily worried about crema preservation as much as I am about the heat of the espresso being utilized as much as possible to melt our sugar. Okay, now we're getting close to the end of the shot. There, see that little wavering? Stop. Okay, that's good. That's good, that's good, that's good. Okay, there it is. Let's come back over here. Okay, now we've got our... Can I zoom in a little bit more? Yeah, there we go, a little bit tighter. Now you can see here we've got our sugars mixing. It's mixing down. All we have to do really is just to rotate it. Now we're making a cold drink, so we don't really even have to worry about preserving the heat. I can use as much heat as I can to dissipate or to melt the sugar and mix it all. There's a very strong aroma of cinnamon. That little teeny tiny bit of cinnamon, super strong. I'm even wondering if maybe it's too much. And this is maybe where, if you want to use cinnamon in your in your drink, this might be where you could benefit from actually making a syrup, because you can then disperse a small amount of cinnamon in that and then control how much is actually in the drink by your pour. There we go. Pretty much, it's mostly dissolved, the sugar. All right, great. Now we're going to take, now from here, it's very simple. All we need to do is grab some ice. And then we're just going to, maybe a little bit more would be good. Yeah, I'm going to say just about there will be fine. And we'll have the ice really kind of almost 3/4. Whoops, yeah, 3/4 in height. Might be good. You can see there's some mixing in. Now we're going to pour the oat milk on, or this is actually not oat milk. This is, what is this? Coconut milk, coconut almond blend. We're going to pour that on top, but we're going to try to pour it gently so that we can get a layering effect, right? I think it's really pretty to have a layering effect with this drink. Let's see if we can do it well. Oops. And part of what's going to should help is the ice. It's going to help disperse that like a spoon would. There we go. Oh, there we are. That's not too bad. Oh my goodness, where's my phone? I'm supposed to be taking photographs for the Substack. And now I can't find it. My problem is that I always forget my phone around the house. It's like, typically I have to run around calling for Siri. Hey Siri, where are you? Where are you? It's really kind of embarrassing, yelling at a phone to talk to you as though nobody loves you and you can't find any friends. Okay, let me get this shot. Maybe this will make it, we'll do some substacking. Okay, so there it is. Our brown sugar shake. Actually, this is not shaken. This is just poured. We can make a shaken version. All you have to do is put into a shaker and shake away. I think that could be a nice way to go. Andrew, good morning to you. All right, so here we are. And as you can, I don't know if you can see this, but what I like about doing it this way is that you're getting some striations of the coffee as it mixes. Like if you look around there, it's very, I think this adds a layer of attractiveness, right? Visual interest, right? Like look at the way that the coffee is flowing up between the ice cubes. I think there's visual interest there. Once you mix it, it becomes, a homogenized color, which is not very pretty. Now, if you drink it like this, it's going to be a layering effect, right? So let's try it. Of course, the first few sips, I'm just tasting all the coconut milk and almond, which is very pleasant, but there's nothing happening, right? So a little bit of sweetness coming through. And like right here, you can see there's some of it coming up. So we could probably get something. It's a slow process. I would probably, if I was to offer this drink, I would probably offer it this way and let the guests stir it if they desire, or drink it this way. Because, if you drink it in this manner, you'll get some mixing as you're drinking down, and then eventually it'll become a greater amount of the coffee or the espresso and the sugar. But in this case, we're just going to stir it to combine it to see what we can get at, what kind of flavors we can get. Once we homogenize the mix, then it's just, it's just brown. It's not pretty. To me, this is the most god-awful part of coffee. It's not the flavor. It's not the pretense. It's not all that. It's this brown muck of color. Perhaps if I was the culinarian on the level of Ferran Adria, I would have, or Albert Adria, I would probably have a better way to approach it, but I don't, because I'm not. Oh, that's rather pleasant. I can see why people like that. That's actually really pleasurable. That's nice. Even with the coconut and the almond. Oh, that's actually very good. All right, that works. Whew. Tom's with us. What's going on, man? How are you doing? Just brewed my last 18 grams of anaerobic Panama Geisha as espresso. Smells like banana. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah, that's first sip pretty good. This is actually very good. I'm very. Wow, actually, that's. I need to. Okay, that's good enough that I need to like avoid drinking that. Otherwise, it'll be like Chug-a-Lug City here. Okay, next one we're going to do is we're going to do another variation. We're going to use. So they do shaken, right? They do shaken, and I like this approach. It's smaller, it's more concentrated. I think that based on what I've seen online, most people are going to be using 2 ounces, double shot of espresso with their ingredients, and then they're going to scale up with the sizes, right? So they're not, and when they go to large, when they're making it all like maybe 16 ounces, but still with 2 shots. So this definitely has a better balance of coffee to sugar and brown sugar and all of that. The molasses is there. The coconut milk is very, that coconut flavor is really pretty on this drink. I'm really surprised at how well that turned out. Naomi's asking, how's the cinnamon flavor strong? No, I don't think the cinnamon is strong. It's present. Like it's present. Somehow we were able to hit this blend where there is that cinnamon, there is that coconut. I don't really get the almond maybe. The coffee is nice and strong. There's the molasses, the sweetness. This is just totally like we're on the fly here. So there's no measuring happening. But I would say that what you watched us making here, this is very well balanced. Like this is like if I wanted to offer a drink to a guest, this is at least it's either very close or how I would like to offer it. Because it has balance. That's what I look for with a lot of drinks is balance, right? We don't want it to be too much of anything. We want it to be in balance. And this is it's seductive. It's sexy. It's sexy. You're like like I said, it's pleasurable. And while we talk about like we want coffee to be pleasurable hedonism, like there's not a lot of times that I've actually sat here making drinks and thinking, wow, that's really pleasurable. Like it's pleasurable. Wow. But yes, the cinnamon I would definitely say is there, but it's not prominent, right? The flavors are there. They're identifiable. They're recognizable. They're just not dominating other flavors. It's just really in a really beautiful balance. Could I recreate this? I don't know, because you know what? Part of that's going to be the balance of the molasses in this mix. And I don't know how much we started with. I just kind of put a little bit of molasses, put the sugar, and mixed it up. Right. So that's all going to be a factor. Like if I was really smart about making developing a recipe, all of this would be measured, right? Just so that I could understand the ratios better. Like I would have weighed how much sugar we started with. I would have weighed how much molasses we added to it, right? And that way we could work on being able to recreate it with more ease. Whew. Power Plant says, oh, what's going on, man? I was just thinking about you. How you doing? It's a dark secret that sugar and dairy make coffee taste better. Oh, it does. It really does. It really does. I totally agree with you. Espresso and Bikes, what's going on? My trip to France is booked. We'll be in Nice, south of France. I hate to tell you this, but I don't have recommendations for France for any coffee other than Le Caféothèque in the Marais in Paris, only because I haven't been to France in a long time. I'm going to try to remember to call one of my friends in France who's in the coffee business, and he would know probably better places to go. While coffee is fantastic, oh, by the way, Power Plant, I finally finished watching the first season of Drops of God, and Man, I enjoy that. But I'm connecting that because espresso bites, man. I don't know. You're in France, man. I want, yeah, coffee's great, but man, time to go explore the wines of France. Like I'm oof. Like in France, well in when I was in France one time, and I took my then girlfriend, and we went to just visit wineries, and we went to like like I know a lot of people like Bordeaux. They like Burgundy and all those stuff, which is great stuff, right? I just don't know anything about them. Bordeaux, I don't really understand. One of my buddies, man, he understands. He's hardcore to Bordeaux, right? I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Right bank, left bank, I don't know. Saint-Emilion, oh, it's all the same to me, right? Because I just haven't educated myself in it. For me, I just love the Chateauneuf, right? Go down to Avignon, and then you take the car and go into Chateauneuf and the Côte d'Aron, and like just drive around and be like, oh, we ought to try here. Like I'm a big fan of the Chateau de Beaucastel. So I don't know that. Like when I think of France, like I just think of like food and wine. I'm like, oh, that's what I'd like to do. but part of that's of course going to be the last time I was there, 2011, something like that. So long. I just didn't. There was no coffee places there, so I will ask and see what I can find out. PowerPoint says they're filming the whole they're filming the White Lotus there. Any plans to visit Cannes? Oh, that sounds good. I don't mind sweet, says Naomi, iced coffees. So I'd probably give that a go. Yeah, this is actually, try it if watch the replay and see if you can like put in the ratios and similar. I think I'm really surprised. But here's another thing to consider is that, like we talked about, if you use the canela, which is the Mexican style, the flavor is going to be, and you use the same quantity of ground canela, it's going to be different. There's going to be a different expression of it. So everything really changes, right? And the coffee that we're using will change. The coffee that you use will change the expression of the drink. It's not always going to be the same because, like it will be difficult to recreate exactly what I just experienced. It will be, and I'm trying to say that very specifically because, you'd have to have everything that we did here, every ingredient that we have here to recreate this. But I think, having your own ingredients, you can make something really delicious, but it's going to be slightly different, right? It's going to be different in some way. Right? That's the one thing that I've learned about the power of the ingredients is that what's available to you, what you use to make whatever it is going to have a tremendous impact or can have a tremendous impact on the final result, right? After I've had my regular unsweetened first cup. Gotcha. Proud Plan says they canceled Starfleet Academy. I saw that, and they've already shot the season 2. So, that's very disappointing. It's like, and it's interesting. Like William Shatner came out and was like, my series was as woke as this. Like people in the 60s, wanted to like cancel that because of all the wokeness, right? Like, a white guy kissing a black woman on national television, that's just like, now we don't think too much about it, but back in 1966, good Lord, Christ is coming and the world is going to end soon because that's just not right, But I think that one of the things that plagues Star Trek shows or any kind of show in today's world is balls, right? Like there's no executive in the studios that has true balls. Right? They just don't have balls. They're more worried about getting fired, losing their positions, losing their expense accounts. Whereas Star Trek in the 1960s, the saving grace for Star Trek was the person behind it, which was Lucille Ball. Lucille Ball at the time was a juggernaut in Hollywood and had tremendous power. So with her Desilu Studios, she forced, was it CBS to put it out there, and like she stood behind it and pushed for it. And a time when nobody else would, and during an era when the stuff they were doing was just outrageous. I mean, blacks kissing whites. There's a Japanese dude on the bridge with some Russian guy in the middle of the Cold War. Like, what is going on here? I mean, we're talking 1966. The When they started production back then, World War II, this war with Japan and Germans had just ended 20 years ago. We are farther in our modern time. We are farther from 9/11 than they were from World War II. So it's like craziness to think about it that way, right? So that to me is really what seals the fate of like a lot of these shows, is that there's just no one there to like believe in it, and nobody there really to like stand up for it. At least those that have the power to do that, because they're only worried about market share and all that kind of thing. But what a shame! What a shame! What a shame! I really enjoyed that series quite a bit. The first season, really enjoyed that. Sucks they have to enter production. Actually, they won't, because they've already shot season 2. So season 2's already done. Like Star Trek Strange New Worlds, I think is done. Because I follow La'an. I follow her Instagram, and I think she said they had finished season 5 already. Which is a shame. Did anyone get a chance to watch Project Hail Mary? I thought it was really. I haven't seen it yet. I didn't realize it had come out already, so I was like, I might go see it. I presume that it's worth watching in the theaters. Let me know. All right, let's make another version. Let's make the shaken version. We'll use the shaker, big cup here. And for shaken, we're going to use a shaker, right? And we're going to take, again, we're going to pull a shot into a glass. So let's pull a shot. Let's get a shot together. We're going to go a little bit faster this time. Gosh, we've already gone through almost a full hour. Just too much talking. Flush the goop head. Okay, there is our. This one, I feel like I feel it's a little bit less than I would like to have put in there. So I'm going to use the entirety of that coffee that I can preserve in there, right? So, and it didn't have any real bits, so just kind of push to the center. I'm not going to worry too much about distribution. Just going to go with it. Now we want to make it with some sugar. So before I put that in there, let's take our concoction. And, I don't remember how much I actually used the last time. Let's do 2.5 or so. And then we need to have a little bit of our that's too much. Just that. See how much I still have in here? It looks like there's nothing put in there. So you don't really be careful. Do not be judicious in your use of cinnamon. It is a very dangerous ingredient to play with, right? I always have to be worried about that. Okay, so there we go. We've got that. Now I'm putting it into this larger cup because I want to have the room for it to, melt and to slosh around as we cause it to melt. We're going to lose a little bit of it because, we're transferring into a different vessel. So again, I'm just going to rotate it around to try to encourage more melting using the heat of the espresso. There we go. Now we're talking. Looking for that like flutter. Oh, there we go. Right there, flutter. Done. So you can see there's a little bit of like, blonding starting right there. There. A little bit lighter. Now that aroma of the cinnamon is very, very strong. I'm trying to check. Let's put this over here. I just want to see if, there's still some sugar there. We want to try to get as much of the sugar as possible. I'm trying not to use a spoon, only because I don't want to soil the spoon. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but oops. Oh, nice. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to take some ice. Get our shaker glass. Put that in there. Maybe a little bit more. Good. That's going to go on top. Let's use regular milk this time. We're going to use regular milk. This is just regular commercial milk here. I'm going to put the milk inside here to transfer it just to see if we get a little bit more. Okay, good. Oh, let's see if I can do this. I really don't know how to do this. Okay, that's nice and cold. I probably should have turned it upside down. There we go. All right, nice. Now, into our cup or mug, glass, whatever you want to call it. All right, again, the problem with this drink is that it's just not pretty, right? I always want pretty, but we never get pretty. Right? Like, I just don't think that's a very attractive drink. Actually, let me do one more. But let's see how it tastes. Now, this is more drink, right? This is a bigger drink. So we're going to lose the balance that we had here. I think it's going to be a little more watered down, a little bit heavier on the milky. Plus, we're using a whole different milk. So the character is going to be completely different. Yeah, what makes... I would suspect that this drink here is more akin to what people will get from Starbucks drinks. Like, it has that very Starbucks-esque kind of character, meaning that it's very milk heavy. There's some of the coffee in there. There's some of the sweetener, the brown sugar, the molasses. There's some of the cinnamon. It's all there. But it's not in any, it's not, and I would not say it's in any way compelling, right? It's like this. Man, there's just a lot going on in this drink, right? This drink's got it going on. Like, it's just like a beautiful amount of like playing between the flavors and balance, and just like each one is just showing itself and just being exciting. This one, yeah, it's good. Not exciting. It's just good. It's just brown sugar, cinnamon, coffee, milk. So I don't know. That's not exciting. That's not exciting. I don't know if they have nice cinema screens in Massachusetts or Maryland, but if you have a better than normal cinema, it's worth the extra dough. You know, we do have the Cinemark that's close to where I live is pretty nice, and then they actually the theater. There's a Regal theater that's even closer to where I live. They just renovated that, so I'm presuming that's better. But it had been so janky for so long that I don't even think about going there. But I should check that out. Most people have heard of IMAX or 4DX, but ScreenX is where it's at. They developed in South Korea when I was there. Oh, I don't know if anyone has ScreenX here. So I don't know. Naomi says, I got to go watch the the shaken version when I'm back. All right. Have a good one, Naomi. Good to see you. ScreenX is where they project the images on the left and right walls. Oh, wow. They should have had ScreenX a good quality cinema. So that sounds interesting. Mix them and it'll probably improve the shaken version. Yeah, but do you want to mix them? Like, I don't want to dilute. I think of these two versions that we've made, this one is really the compelling one. Like, this is the one. Like I'd want to drink this. This is like, yeah, right? Like this. Oh yeah, man. That's like complex. There's a little bit of caramel kind of character developing. Man, it's so much better. Like, yeah, like I would drink this and then just, let that sit aside. My usual cinema in Seoul was the biggest screen in Asia. Oh, wow. They use Screen X there. The wall projections are only in wide shots and really are captivating. They shot, they did shoot it. Okay, I wasn't sure if they did. Okay, great. Awesome. I wonder, I'll have to look around. I'll look around and see if they are. All right, so that's pretty much all I have for you today. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. Give it a try. What you're at home, and it's not to say that this is bad. This is very nice. Like, I think this version, it's definitely more diluted. It does show off the individual flavors, but I think it's definitely something that's geared more towards the average consumer. Something that's friendly, something that's sweet, something that doesn't have too forward a coffee flavor, right? Because some people just don't want to have that coffee flavor. They want to have it toned down, and they want bigger volume. This is really something that's going to fit for that kind of person. Whereas, the person that wants to explore coffee more, really experience coffee and try to have a better balance of flavors and tastes, this is going to be the way to go. Give it a try at home. Like, let me know if you get to make it. If you make it, take some pictures and, put them on Instagram and tag me on it so I can see. I'd love to see what you do. I do think this is worth exploring for the enthusiast. I think my niece would love this. Yeah, there it is. There it is. All right, so hope that helps. We'll be back again tomorrow with another episode of the Coffee Q&A. If you have ideas or suggestions for what you'd like to see us talk about, let me know, and we can work that in. So until then, have a great one, and see you next time. You too, Mom. Power plant.